Shalom, and welcome to the Unknown Podcast.
where we navigate the unknown and uncertain aspects of the Christian walk in our generation today.
Keep in mind, we are not biblical scholars or theologians. We are simply young fellas attempting to learn more about Christ through conversation.
Okay, I'm
I
gonna
don't even care
scoot
about
and I'm
playing
gonna
right now.
play.
Clap in 3, 2, 1.
Do it again. Do it again.
Clapping in 3, 2, 1.
All right, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good stuff.
That's so
All
good,
right.
Jonah.
Thank you guys for listening.
So good.
All right. You take
I'm a
over.
professional.
Go on. No, I think you
That
should
was-
take over.
You just
Why
like,
should I
didn't even
take
have
over?
a full sentence there. They said, thank you guys for listening.
No, because that was the end of the podcast.
Oh,
I was like, that's
we'll
all
see
great
you guys
points.
next week on the Unknown Podcast.
Adios.
See you guys.
Peace out.
Oh my gosh. All right, so it's been a long time since we recorded a
Way
podcast.
too
Yeah,
long.
boys.
Yeah, I
We
wonder why.
back at it.
We had to, we haven't been, just here.
Mm-hmm.
We've been here and here and here, but now we're here.
It does feel right. It's like the Three Musketeers
Mm.
and God. So
Mm.
Yeah, the full
The
The
fourth
four
in
and
the fire.
one. What did you say?
heresy probably.
I kind of consider us like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We need the button.
we need the button.
Support our Patreon so we can buy. I'm just kidding.
Venmo.
GoFundMe.
I still don't have my Venmo set up. So.
Don't get me started with that. crap.
Yeah, we know you don't have it set up.
Oh.
I remember.
Anyways,
I'm gonna buy it on
I
everything.
hold grudges.
What if I did it right now?
what? Set up my Venmo for me?
No.
Oh my goodness.
What was
Scared
that?
me.
I know, but it scared me.
So
Anyways,
today, I'm rocking the hat.
me too.
Me too.
You just
Aunt-
copy me? Okay, go by me
What does
too.
it say? Aunt Christie's?
No, Andy's frozen custard.
Andy's Frozen Custard. Is that actually a
It's
real
from-
place?
from
Did
back
you
home,
say
yeah.
Aunt Christie's?
It's like the best frozen custard in the world.
It's gas, not for real.
Originated in Springfield, Missouri, from my hometown. So
It's so good.
Shout out Andy.
yeah,
Creech?
he's probably not with us
Sorry.
anymore, but
Don't.
Rest in peace.
This one says record for 30 seconds. Do you think we can record for a shorter amount of time, or do you think he needs to repeat heresy for 30 seconds when we hit the button?
What?
oh, are we buying one right now? Is that what's happening?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm on
uh,
Amazon. It's 25% off right now. It's only 12
Oh, dude,
bucks.
that means we have to
Only
buy it.
$12, and he just like records the message.
Yeah, it's
Is there
literally-
multiple?
There's one like
Multiple
that, like
buttons?
under five
well, no.
below.
Can you like record multiple message on the button?
No, I don't.
Mm.
How sick would that be?
You can probably re-record things. Like you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some of these that come with packs. This one's 16 bucks and it comes with 4. This is a dog button.
No, I don't think we need that.
I'm not a
We
dog.
just need one, right? I mean,
I agree. It's only 12
unless
bucks.
we want to get like 3 different messages and
No,
like.
we just need one.
Heresy and
Blasphemy.
blasphemy and I don't know, sin. I don't know.
Stumble. Pride. We need a
Pride.
pride.
We need a pride button. Yeah.
Stumble.
Pride.
Stumble.
Can they all be Cooper's voice?
Oh, absolutely. The heresy is going to keep it
Pride.
going.
Heresy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good.
Just I hope it's like clear enough that you can hear it.
Yeah.
But
for
when we
sure.
hit it, we can't just do this. We're gonna have to take it to the mic and so that they can hear it.
yeah.
Maybe. Unless I get. Anyways,
Well, let's get a 4th mic specifically for the button.
I'll buy it through Venmo.
What? Just
Dude,
go
you
on.
won't.
Do you have
That's the
Amazon
thing.
Prime? Do you have Amazon
Maybe in
Prime?
like 3
Yeah.
years.
Go buy this right now
No.
after the podcast.
We're trying to. Okay.
Oh yeah. Hey guys. How are you all doing?
I'll send you the link, Coop.
All right.
Um.
Are you done? All right. So what are we
anyways,
talking
shout
about?
out
Did
to-
we get to that?
No, I was trying to get into it. So
Yeah.
shout out to Andy. Because Andy's saving me because today I got a haircut. And so it was okay. And then I go
Mhm.
home and wash my hair.
Yeah.
And then I look in the mirror. And it looks like my face is some shrimp fried rice in a bowl.
Do you know what that means? Because
I'm confused.
You know, because I have a daggum
face
bowl
cut?
cut.
Oh.
Like, it's
Oh.
like,
So that was just the first thing you thought
So
of
I
that
was
goes in
like,
bowls?
I can't record a podcast today because I look silly. And so we were like, so what are we doing the podcast on? And this was pretty funny. He got me pretty good. And Wesley was like, the fear of man. I was like, oh, is that what you talked about in the Bible study this morning? He was like, no, I just have a friend that
Just got a
really
haircut.
needs to hear that
Yeah.
or something like that.
He said,
I got a friend that got a haircut today. Really is worried about what man might think of him with the new
Yeah.
bad cut. so-
super relevant to
I mean, yeah, it was
one of our
convicting.
close friends. We won't name him, obviously,
Yeah.
for non-disclosure purposes.
Yeah,
but
no name
so
drops here.
Today we're going to be talking about the fear of man,
Yeah.
and just for like a fellow friend of ours, of theirs.
I feel like this
Yeah. So-
episode should, yeah, he's not your friend.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode should have followed Fearing God episode.
Yeah,
'cause that's kinda
probably
like a
could have
cool-
done that.
We're just spontaneous.
But we're not that good enough.
There
Yeah,
you go. Yeah,
we're
we're
So we
not
have
that
the
good
fear of
Professional
God.
level.
What is the fear of man?
man.
You brought up the. You keep going.
Well, I didn't bring up anything.
Yeah, you did. You said fear, man.
Yeah, well, it is obviously, I think, the opposite of fearing God. So that's that. I just hate coming up with
Wait,
like my own
Proverbs
definition of
29.
something.
Yeah, it's tough.
Um,
I get that.
So if the
and the mic
daggum-
could be. Yeah, there you go.
So if we look at Psalm 111:10,
Hug
it
that
talks
Bible.
about, the fearing God being the beginning of wisdom. So if fearing man is the opposite of fearing God, I think fearing man is the beginning of foolishness.
Hmm.
You know?
Okay.
Let me just get into Proverbs. Where's it at?
Get into Proverbs, Coop.
Get in that Bible, boy.
Get in that thing.
Bible, boy.
All right, y'all can stall while I'm looking at this verse.
I have a question. Is the fear of man? Oh, I mean, isn't that just a different way to say pride?
It
Almost.
I think it falls under pride.
And I
It's
was
definitely a
wondering,
type of
I was
pride.
wondering
A lot of
how
pride.
quick it would get
We
into
needed
that.
that
yeah, I
pride
was gonna
button.
say.
But
Yeah, we do
yes.
need the pride button.
And I can speak to that in a second.
Okay,
So Proverbs 29:25.
Mhm.
The fear of man brings a snare. So we have a snare.
It's cool.
But he who trusts in the Lord will be exalted. So I think a lot of times
Can you turn on that
Oh,
time
yeah.
thing?
Satan uses snares and like traps to get in us, or what does that even mean? Snares to get us entangled with him, and we begin to fear man instead of fearing God, which is the beginning of foolishness. Anyways,
Are we
so-
talking like a drum snare?
Yeah,
I thought that was when he said, what was the beginning of the verse? Something when he said that like first little thing. I thought that was the whole verse. He was like, "Fearing man is a snare," and then he stopped for like 4 seconds, and I was like, "Is that the whole verse?"
That's a great point.
it was just,
I was like,
it was just
amen.
emphasis on the snare.
Pop
like he
off.
traps us,
like a
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
just one of the things. But I think it falls under a lot of pride.
Hmm.
It can fall into like being over competitive, like how does everybody view me? Like I just got a haircut, like how do people see me? Gossip, anything like that. All those things are being fearful of man instead of being, whatever. I think for one of me,
Yeah.
just one of you, not all of
an
you.
example for me
Come on.
is like my fear of man increases proportionally to the sophistication level of that other person that I'm talking to. And I feel like, so if I'm talking to Jonah, like a really stupid person, not stupid person, if I'm talking to Jonah, I
Dang.
feel like an
Ouch.
uneducated person of beliefs and, religion, I can easily go up to them and be like, hey, here's the gospel.
Why am I this example?
Just chill out. It's
You
not
didn't have to-
personal. It's
you
not
didn't
personal.
have to use the name.
But
He
if
just- he had to
but
use
if-
a name.
But if I see Wesley and he's like some really educated person, like really smart and intellectual,
College dropout, by the way.
yeah, then I take a second. I'm like, oh,
You had to go there.
I did.
I'm
Make
trying to
you
get
feel
a
better.
point across, guys.
He has perfect patience.
I'm sorry, bro.
And
I'm
he
sorry.
has
My
perfect
pride.
pitch.
Sorry. Hey.
Okay.
This is the hand.
Oh, dang it. Crinkling my Bible here. But if I see Wesley who has perfect pitch, I'm going to be like, oh, what is he going to think of me?
Yeah.
He's probably going to prove me wrong. And then that gets started into, I didn't do that. So now I have guilt. And it's just like a deep spiral.
I think it's deeper than even like biblical respect for people. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because a lot of this is like, I mean, fearing man is a fleshly thing. And so the more we feel like the other person has like status or like, I mean, it's simply put, they're more popular. Like if you're talking to someone like that, you're a lot more worried about, I don't know, how you look, how you sound, whatever, than if you're just talking to somebody who nobody has no friends or, you know, doesn't really have an effect on other people around them kind of thing. You know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's more than just when you're talking to other believers, which is interesting.
Yeah. The only thing I could think of is pride with it all, which I've
'cause of
tried
it.
to figure out another way to say it because we talk about that all the time. I don't want to like take an easy way out, but like ultimately it's like, okay, I care about my image more than I care about sharing the gospel or, you know.
I've still got my notes from Wednesday if you want them. My pride notes.
Oh, you're not. Yeah.
Sure,
Hey,
I got
talk about that for a second.
Talk about what?
Like, well, I'll talk about it so you can't get prideful. No, I'm kidding.
Can't get
So
pride.
Jonah spoke at our college group
Shout that out.
Wednesday night, which was
What is
really
our
cool.
college group?
Yeah,
Shout out the table.
yeah, the table.
Follow them on Instagram.
Uh-huh. It's really great. The Table Sunnyside, I think, is the name of it.
Is it?
Something like that. But yeah, so you spoke on pride, and that was really awesome to
Been
hear
studying
you
it a
teach.
lot recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
After we made so many jokes about it. I
So
felt like
does
I had
that
to.
mean pride, like actual pride episode is coming soon?
Oh,
This is kind of like a precursor to pride.
Yeah.
But this is really a type of pride, honestly.
Yeah.
But like we said, pride could be split up into multiple things. So I think
Mhm.
this is okay to talk about.
yeah.
Like
Right.
I don't think we're ever going to have an episode called Pride, just because
Maybe
there's
not.
too much
Yeah.
to
That's what I
cover.
thought.
This is definitely a subset of pride.
Yeah.
Though. One thing that I liked when I was researching my lesson on pride that was really eye-opening to me on what this fearing man was like really defining what insecurity was. And I find it really interesting that we call it insecurity, and that's like how we think of, we're worried about how people view us and we don't feel good about how we are. And like the real word has the word security in it. And that's because it's when we put our security in things that do not keep us secure.
I literally went, whenever you said that.
Like I
don't know
felt
why
like
said that.
when I heard that, when I was like researching this kind of stuff, I was like, dang, that is so true. And nobody ever mentions that. That's one of those words that you hear insecurity and you never even try to think of what the actual word means.
Yeah.
But like, so like biblically, it's when you put your security in something other than God, and that thing will always fail you. So anything in the world other than God that you're putting your security in, it's going to fail you at some point. Just like this, like for our fearing man example, you're putting your security and your comfort in the ideas of another man, another person. And no matter what, that person's going to fail you. God will never fail you, kind of thing. So like we said, it's the opposite of fearing God. I mean, it's completely not a solid foundation to put your security in.
Yeah. So it's like, what are we prioritizing?
Yeah.
The approval of God, like the approval of the creator of the universe, or the approval of other people around us? Charles Spurgeon said something like this. I'm definitely not quoting this, but he said something like, we have to preach the truth or I have to preach the truth because I would way rather disappoint man than I would disappoint God. And I thought that was so good. Paul Washer said something, used an analogy. He said, we have to fight someone, and the first one is going to be a really small man who's like really skinny and has no muscle on him at all. And he's going to want to be talking the talk and walk the walk as well. Like me. No, I'm just playing. Anyways. And so we're going to run into the corner because we're still scared of him. We're going to run into the corner and be like, I don't want to fight you. Like, get away from me. But then afterwards, this 10-foot giant is going to come up behind him who's like me, who looks like me, and it's like massive. I'm just kidding. He's like
Swole
an
Is that
Arnold
prideful?
Schwarzenegger coming after him. And, we're going to have to fight somebody. So who are we going to fight? The big guy or the small guy? Answer.
The small guy.
Okay. You guys are the small guys. I'm the small guy. We have 7 billion small guys, right?
Almost 8 billion.
Almost 8 billion.
We're gonna reach
small
8 billion
guys.
soon.
And all those small guys' power cannot add up to that one big guy. So we'd rather fight that small guy. We'd rather face the disapproval from the small guy, which is the world, than the disapproval from God.
Yeah, and if we take this into like personal experiences, like let's say for me, like every time this is why I hate Satan. So like every time, this is one of the many
This
reasons.
is the only reason.
Yeah, yeah. So like anytime I'm trying or I have a chance to like say evangelize or like just spread the gospel in any way, and then like, you know, say the reason I didn't. I mean, how many times do we have that opportunity and then we're like, oh, they might think of me this way, or what if it's somebody that we've known for a while and we've never taken that step, but the opportunity's there, but we're like, we can't take it because they might look at us a certain way. We might lose that relationship or whatever. So that, I don't think I've gotten a point across yet, but
No, you have.
when you listen to the voice of Satan being like, oh, he's going to do this, he's going to think this way, she's going to think this way, you're going to lose that relationship. In the moment, it means so much to you, enough to not do that. But then every single time I leave that scenario, the thing I think
Dang.
about isn't,
That
man,
guilt.
Yeah.
it isn't like, I made a really good decision there, I'm happy I did it. It's always guilt.
It's
Yeah.
like, dang, I missed an opportunity.
And so it's
Yeah.
like the fear of man should never, I don't know, it fails you every time, you know?
yeah,
It's
I mean,
crazy. Like, it's crazy, you know?
Because in the
Sin.
moment, it
Never
really,
works.
right, it never works. But in the moment, it really feels like the
Sin
thing
never
to
works.
do.
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right.
Satan is a really good liar. He's really good at
Really?
convincing you of something, and then as soon as it's over, he's like, "Dang, you really messed up because you didn't do it." And it's like, come on now.
That
Like,
hurts.
Eve, you're not going to die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a really good example.
Sorry.
But that was something I covered a lot on Wednesday, was like how it affects our ability to share the gospel. And the reason I did that was because I didn't want pride to feel like one of those things where it's just we shouldn't do it because God tells us not to do it and that's it. It's like, this is one of those things that, yes, God tells us not to be prideful, but also the Great Commission is for us to go and make disciples of all nations. And this directly hinders us from doing that because we get in our own heads. We convince ourselves, A, we're not good enough. B, those people are going to hate us now or judge us or whatever. And it stops us from doing exactly what God is directly calling us to do, along with being directly a sin. So like, it's a
Yeah.
double whammy.
Yeah.
It's bad.
So you
Hurts.
talked about how pride can be, hey, everybody, look at me. I'm in the spotlight, trying to get in the spotlight for other people to see you. But
Try again.
it also can be getting out of the spotlight because I don't want to be seen. I don't want to see. Oh my God.
You're good. You're good.
You got a high
Third
right
time.
there.
Third time.
That was a high note.
You know, all the time worried about yourself. So that was a good point. I don't know where I was going with that. But
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
so I think a good thing to think about is that we can have peace about is we may not ever lose that fear.
Right. In our everyday
And-
lives.
But like getting across to the evangelism part. I was
Did you just
staring-
freeze? It's like you paused right there. You were like,
it almost made me freeze too. Like
Hold on.
I
yeah,
couldn't
know.
move.
I was
It's for
looking. I was like, did
emphasis,
something
you know?
happen?
I'm minoring in storytelling, so I'm trying to get better at it.
Are you serious?
No,
I was
That
like,
would've been
wow,
really
okay, I didn't know
That would
that.
have been super cool.
Yeah.
I'm a good liar. And so,
Dude, your dramatic pauses are too much today.
yeah. Okay, so it's
gonna have to
not
cut that.
about. You talked about
Did you say
evangelism. It's not always about the decrease of fear. So let's just talk about an analogy here.
Yes.
You have a frozen lake,
Mm.
and there's
Right
a
here,
hole
this
in
is the
it.
frozen
There's a
lake.
hole in it right here.
Yeah.
And
Right here.
if you get in that lake, somebody's fishing in there and they just left it. So if you jump in that lake, you're going to die of hypothermia in 30 seconds. So you're like, I'm pretty fearful of that. I'm going to stay away from that. Okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
But if, you're just chilling and then a little kid walks, Kai, he comes around
My
and
nephew.
falls in the hole. And you're not like, so what are you going to do? What is our response to that? The obvious one. Okay, you're going to go
Go
get
save
the
him,
kid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Freeze
it's not
if
that,
you're you, apparently.
yes.
Just
Save myself.
Nice.
get
It's not
off
that,
the lake. Act like you didn't see it. Keep going. Sorry. Sorry.
It's not that your fear decreases, that you're still scared of dying, of hypothermia, but your love increases because you see somebody else dying. So if we
Compassion.
see people that are dead in their sins, that are, whenever they die, they're gonna be eternally separated from God. It's not like we're less fearful of what they think about us. It's that our love overcompensates,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we share the gospel. For
That's
that
kind of
reason.
what I was talking about. Is like at the end of the day, that little feeling that you have there to stop yourself from doing it, it has so much more like, I don't know, the opposite end of like, well, hold on, how should I say this? If you do tell them,
Yeah.
and it does bring them to salvation,
Yeah.
you know, if you do say that thing and God saves them there, that is so much more
Fulfilling.
fulfilling than saving your, you know, your
Comfort.
pride and
Your
Yeah.
perception, how people think about you,
yeah,
it sucks.
I don't
It
know.
stinks.
It's just like
It's like,
literally
that's
every
where-
time you leave that scenario doing that, I'm just
Yeah.
it's just guilt. It's not like, shoo, glad my reputation was saved there.
Yeah.
God,
you
they
never
don't
feel
hate
good
me.
about it.
You're
never
just
feel good
like,
about it.
man, the next time I need to try harder, and then you do it again, and you're like, oh my gosh. But
I mean, sometimes you do get in those positions, and sometimes it's not the greatest witnessing situation that you've ever made. But we should rejoice in those moments. In Acts 5:41, it says, "So they went on their way from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they had been considered worthy to suffer shame for his name. And every day in the temple and from house to house, they kept right on, teaching and preaching Jesus as the Christ." So they rejoiced because they got to suffer because of Christ's name. That's pretty cool. And I was talking about something
very
about
cool.
being a martyr the other day, about how, I don't know if that relates. So somebody else go ahead.
we kind of talked about, I thought it was cool in our Bible study this morning, talking about, we read Romans 1, but, you know, Paul, in the beginning of that letter, he writes, like, you know, I've been so excited. I've been, like, off the walls, ready to come preach to you guys, or, you know, finally talk to you guys.
Off the walls.
And, yeah, it says
Sorry,
it. It's,
direct quote.
and then he says, but God has made me wait
Mm.
so that I may actually learn something as well. Like, so it's cool. I just thought that was a cool point, that
Yeah.
the excitement was there, but sometimes you learn something out of it too, which is really cool. That
Yeah,
was just a cool point.
And then a
took
couple
from the Bible
verses
study.
later, he was like, "Yeah, you guys are terrible people."
That's true, as he does.
Not really. Not in that one.
But
He
yeah.
eventually gets there.
Is that my nephew
That's
that just
Kai.
woke
Who's
up?
that guy?
We just woke my nephew up from his nap. So
What time was he supposed to wake up?
couldn't tell you.
Well,
I don't
he
know
didn't
when he went
fall
to
into
sleep.
the lake, so that's good.
That's
Yeah.
true. We saved him.
Yeah, what I was
Hmm.
gonna say, you really pulled that analogy together. That was really good.
Thank you.
I'm pointing there because that's where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was really good.
We'll
for
leave
real.
it there too.
I like that one a lot. It sounded like I was gonna say something, didn't
It did. I thought you were
Yeah.
leaning into something
That's
really
all I was
good.
like, "What?" That's on me. I think I had something to say, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, I do remember. So another another way to fight this fearing man problem that I think everybody experiences. Some probably more than others, but everyone goes through it at some point. Other than just fighting that fear with love and having compassion for non-believers. Another way to do that, and I kind of once again talked about this on Wednesday night. This is very relevant to what I talked about on Wednesday night. Almost exactly what I was going for. Was being open and honest about your own struggles and sins. So not only like confessing to others, because that is fantastic. That's what we're called to do.
Yeah.
We should be doing that as believers.
Yeah.
But also just
James
examining
5:16.
examining yourself and kind of nice examining yourself and kind of recognizing in your own head where you're struggling, so that way you can actually fight those things. I think we don't do that as often as we should.
Mhm.
Examine ourselves and really see where we're at, and
Yeah.
that kind of causes us to get prideful and be more I don't know. You just feel like you're in a better spot than you probably are with your sins. Like you feel like you're doing better because you're just kind of hiding them in your own head and to other people.
Yeah.
And that creates
Mm.
that sense of pride between you and
Yeah,
that person.
and Satan works in the darkness of those sins,
Yeah.
right? When we keep them held in our head and our hearts, that's when he can
Bottled
use
up.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we expose those to the light,
And it's scary. It's a practice that we have been doing pretty recently, and
I mean,
one of
that's
our-
scary that for 17 years I didn't do that.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, but I mean,
For us,
think of
it's 20.
everybody else. Think of
Because you're 21.
Even
think of
longer.
everybody else our age that hasn't done it.
Yeah.
Like that's just sad
There's
because
people a lot older that haven't done it.
right.
No, there's not.
No, just
And
once
it
you're
doesn't. It
20,
just
you
doesn't
have
get taught in the church. It's not like a. I mean, I've definitely heard it growing up, but I haven't heard it as like a
You kind of
do
pass over it.
this.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
hey, confess your sins.
right
Okay, let's talk about
because
something
it's
else.
not the most fun and like pleasing
nobody
thing
wants
on the
to do it.
Christian like
No.
Yeah.
rule book. You know,
Nobody wants to feel bad about where they're at.
right?
But you know what I've recognized? The more you, what are you doing?
I'm trying to sneeze because I was really
Don't.
feeling a sneeze.
Just
What
please
is going
turn that
on,
way.
I was going to.
Anyways,
You've
the more I've recognized and examined myself and my own sins, is the more I realize how good God is, because you realize how much like you don't deserve what He's given.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of why He wants us to recognize our sins to the extent we do and confess them, just so we
Yeah.
kind of humble ourselves, realize how low we are and how much grace and mercy God has given to us to
Yeah.
get us to where we are today. So I think
that
that's
can
really
be
cool.
another topic. Oh, we
Could
can
be.
get into that.
It's a really good one.
sure.
um,
I love you, Sheesh.
He said that's probably the fourth one of the episode. I think
It's so good.
the first three were all in the first minute of the episode.
so I found a pretty good quote from #GotQuestions. I love this app. But as I was talking about,
They
like,
have an app.
It's an app. Yeah.
I thought we just
That's
used the
crazy.
website.
yeah, I got the app because
A better Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
He's-
really humble.
He's like
Super.
he's like peak sanctification.
Yeah,
So I'm,
yeah,
like,
yeah. He's been
humble
sanctified.
here.
He's basically in heaven.
Okay.
Heresy.
So it talks about, that verse where the fear of man ensnares us. So it says that Romans 8:31, it says, "What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us?" So Romans 8:31 points us away from the ensnaring fear of man. While Christians should always be sensitive to current social issues and be compassionate and kind to all, we must never allow the fear of man to determine our course. Thousands of martyrs could have avoided death had they only remained silent about their loyalty to Christ. If they had allowed the fear of man to silence them, they may have won the world's applause but lost heaven's. While Satan cannot steal the salvation of those born again into the God's kingdom, he can and does use snares. He can and does use snares to steal our victory, our witness, and our opportunities to store up treasure in heaven by magnifying the fear of man.
I think I'm just talking about this is making me realize how much security we put in other people. Like I'm just thinking, what if we like individually were put in jail and it was just us and God? That was all we had, right? Like I think of like all the stories in the Bible of like people being imprisoned and like somehow they're growing stronger and closer to God. And it's like I don't even know. It seems like I would have so many doubts, so many questions in my head just because I'm so reliant on other people
Yeah.
Right.
approval and like just everything.
Yeah.
Like what would it be if it were just me and God and that's all I had?
Yeah.
You
It
know what I'm
shows our dependency on God.
Yeah.
Yeah. In those times of suffering or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, are we truly depending on God or are we depending on ourselves and our perception that others have on us?
Yeah.
So,
How much are we depending on other people
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
hold us up?
And
It's
especially, the amount that we play church, like we can say all these things of like, I put all my faith in God and, but
He is the Lord of my
it-
life.
right. But as soon as something goes wrong, how often do you see somebody just crash and burn? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough.
But good thing we have the solutions.
But good thing.
Shoot, we have
if God
God's
is for
holy
us,
word.
who can
Not
be
this
against
paper
us?
with the map.
And if our God is for us, then it can never stop. Hey, then if our God is come on, John. Then what could stand
Wow, that-
again?
That was so good.
Okay.
Quit looking at the
Yay.
time, Cooper.
30 minutes.
It's my job. Nice.
Hey, we made it.
Is there anything about else? Or are we done?
I was
Did you hear that?
the beard
No,
scruff.
that was
Oh.
not a sentence right there. I don't know what I just said. It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes, and if God is with me, then who can say?
I
against
almost
me?
made a Hannah Montana.
I did too. I was gonna say.
Almost.
Everybody has those days, you know. It's tough.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. You know, before we end it, though, that was really good. But before we end it, we haven't really, I mean, we're a good bit of episodes into the podcast. We haven't really introduced, and we could have probably put this at the beginning of the episode,
Probably.
but we have not, like, really introduced, like, at all who we are, what we do, how we met, what, you know
No,
what I
we really
mean?
haven't. Also, you just said really introduced probably 4 or 5 times.
That's
right there.
okay.
You just kept going. back
Everybody
to-
makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Should we though? Because we have we have a listener in South Africa. We had a listener in New Zealand. So it's
Dang.
like these people have
Hey,
no
guys,
idea
what's
who
up?
we are. So like, should we
I think we should.
say something about that?
Cooper, you go first.
Just take like
Just give us a
minute.
brief-
Yeah.
1 minute synopsis of your life right now.
Yeah.
No, somebody else go first.
Okay. Well, I would just say us three met. So me and Jonah have grown up together like since kindergarten. We've been best friends. We grew up. We've been friends forever. Cooper grew up on my street.
Circle boys.
Circle boys.
Circle boys.
So
I'm not cool enough to be a circle boy.
we have grown up together as well. And then in high school, we were seniors when you were a freshman. So we
Choir boys.
through choir and theater and all that jazz, we
And life. Just life.
yeah.
Yeah.
We became friends and really close. Then me and Jonah went off to college. And then we didn't really talk to Cooper much, but we were still friends with
We
him.
had a brief hiatus. Yeah.
Yeah. And then something
Wesley left in Murfreesboro.
That's
Jonah
true,
Was in
I did
college,
leave.
and I was in high school.
We were
Then
all
we
completely separate, man. It was
met
crazy.
in college, and Wesley came back, and we were like, "Hey guys, let's be friends."
It
And
was
then
so
we
wholesome.
all came into a group hug.
plus at that time we were all experiencing like really like we've all
Mm.
been on a high for Christ anyways. So like it was cool to all come
Yeah, we were
together
kind of
when
all
we
on
did.
a build up, you know? We were all like right there at like,
Yeah.
I want to get
Climax.
going. No, not the climax. We were on the.
Let's hope we don't fall from here. Let's
Yeah.
hope we continue.
We weren't there.
I
and
hope
we've been
this is-
down
that
ever since.
happened to me.
We're still
I'm just
building, I
playing.
hope.
Yeah, it's too real.
Cooper's on the way down. He's
Yeah.
crashing and burning.
But yeah, so we're all best friends, and then we just decided
Aw.
to make. Well, we didn't just decide actually. For the podcast, we just it kind of came together. We wanted to.
We were having good Bible studies,
Yeah,
and then
we
we were
were.
like, "Guys,
We just
this
kept
is good.
discussing
Shout out to
good
Brody.
things. Shout out our dog Brody.
Yeah.
Yeah, love you, Brody.
What a good man.
What a guy." Okay, so then we're like, "Guys, we should record a podcast," and I had been wanting to make a podcast for a while.
Yeah,
But
you had brought the idea up to me
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we started singing, and we were like, "No, this stinks." How deep?
Yeah.
Throwback.
Yeah.
That started it all.
Anyways, and then we were like, let's just put some headphones on and let's get into it. So
Yeah.
then our first episode was terrible. So
Complete flop.
we didn't do
Was it
that.
terrible?
Didn't
It
even-
was just
wasn't-
we didn't know what we were doing or talking about or anything.
No, are you talking
It
about
was
the
like
one
me
we
and
actually
Wesley,
posted?
really.
Oh,
Or-
you mean the one that we never?
one
no,
that we
that wasn't
never
even
put
a
out.
real episode. Then we just were like, oh, we're doing this.
So let's actually try. And
Yeah.
then we put out a real episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think God's doing great things through it. It's really cool to see. So we want to continue to hopefully keep it weekly, continue to put out content for you guys to be able to grow closer in your relationship with Christ. That's the goal with this. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun, and I just felt like we needed to do that because we haven't really
We haven't really done
expressed
that.
to many people, who we are and why we do this stuff, other than the intro. Shalom.
Yeah, that's true.
Shalom.
But even then, we don't really introduce who we are.
We don't. Not really.
We're pretty
We
much
might
just
do, like,
normal
a-
dudes. We're nothing,
Yeah.
nothing crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There-
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Nothing wild.
It also helps us a lot because then we get to like research when we do.
Yeah.
And then talk about it. Because when you're confident enough to talk about something, then you feel more confident to like know it.
Yeah, it
I-
definitely helps me in my daily.
Yeah. Well,
Meetings
most of
that I
the,
have
I
with
mean, I don't know
people.
about you guys, but most of the things I say are just like I'm learning as we're talking about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's kinda how-
Conversation.
Yeah, it has been helpful to me, and I
At the
hope the
very least.
same to anyone
listeners,
listening
yeah.
out there. But yeah,
not for our glory,
no.
For
for
who's?
the glory of the King.
brilliant.
Mm.
Well,
Not
continue
King
to share.
Charles.
Do what?
Not King Charles, the new King of England. That is his name, right? Charles.
I don't know.
I think so. The new King of England after rest in peace.
We
Queen
Do
left
you
the
think
monarchy,
the King of
so-
England was saved? All right.
the Queen.
We'll see you guys next week on our next episode.
Dude.